Please. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now approaching the end of this journey, dense of unique testimonies, success stories, best practices, and above all, committed individuals. Let's conclude this fruitful day by exploring major sporting events as catalyst for social engagement, development, community pride, and of course, social inclusion. Let's listen to the testimony of a great sporting figure that saw his life and his country transformed through sporting events. He couldn't be with us physically, but we are pleased to welcome him in a video conference. It is Mr. Sung Min Ryo. He is a member of the International Olympic Committee. Hello. Yes, we can see you.
Hello. Thank you.
The
Can you hear
crowd
me?
are applauding you. And Mr. Rio is a table tennis Olympic champion, chair of the Pyeongchang 2018 Legacy Foundation, and committed champion for peace. Hello and welcome to the first Peace and Sport Middle East Forum. Mr. Rio, throughout your life as an athlete and sport administrator, you have personally experienced the social impact of major sporting events. Can you tell us more about your story and that one of your country, the Republic of Korea? The mic to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. It's my great honor to be here. First of all, Your Highness, Excellencies, and Partner of the Peace and Sport, and also respective champion of peace, and ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends. I'm truly honored to address you at the Peace and Sports Middle East Forum, and also congratulations for the Saudi Olympic and Paralympic Committee and hosting this fantastic and wonderful forum. And also great thanks to President and the founder of Peace and Sports, Mr. Joel Buju, for hosting and inviting me to this meaningful event. It is my great regret because I can be there because of some personal reasons. I'm very privileged to share this platform with my fellow champion for peace. So my journey as a champion began at the 1988 Seoul Olympics when I was just 6 years old. Watching the table tennis event, but I'm not really clearly remember, to be honest, because it was 35 years ago. But I truly said I dreamed of becoming an Olympic champion after this watching the table tennis event. The sport transformed my life and played a pivotal role in my country's development. At age 18, I became an Olympian, first participating in the 2000 Sydney Olympics. And after that, my dream came true when I won the gold medal at the age of 22 years old in Athens 2004. This was a defining moment showing how athletes can inspire and serve as role models worldwide. I'm proud to discuss the legacy and social impact of major sporting events. These topics very close to my heart. As president of the Pyeongchang Legacy Foundations, we are committed to preserving the Olympic spirit. Also, we have launched social and sports projects for youth and the development of Gangwon region. Hosting the 1988 Seoul Olympics was a turning point for South Korea in many ways, and transforming our image and showcasing the power of sports. The Games initiated international dialogue and infrastructure development and urban transformation and enriched our cultural history. The 2002 FIFA World Cup, co-hosted with Japan, and also another historical moment was 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, also illustrated the incredible influence of sport. A historical moment which I have seen our North and South Korea competed as a unified team under one flag. It was a very symbolizing the unifying power of sports. As president of the Pyeongchang 2018 Legacy Foundation, which we created right after the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, I have responsibility to promote this peaceful and powerful legacy to the younger generations in Korea. That's why I deeply believe that this Winter Youth Olympic Games, Gangwon 2024, will be successful and another great moment to inspire young people. In less than 100 days, young athletes from all over the world will come together and making friends through sport. This event, I truly believe that, will empower youth to become future change makers. So, in conclusion, I'm grateful to be part of this forum and remain dedicated to advancing the cause of peace and sports. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Very bold vision indeed. Thank you so much for sharing your story and setting the scene for the next panel discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, to moderate this session, I am pleased to welcome an inspiring athlete, Hani Talija. She is the FIFA Corporate Communication Manager and a dedicated champion for peace from Palestine. فلسطين الصامدة، فلسطين الحبيبة، نورتينا. And her esteemed panelist, Dr. Chang Woong Shu, President of World Taekwondo. Yes? Dr. or Mr. Baladai, Sport Director, Organizing Committee of the Youth Olympic Games Dakar 2026. Welcome. We're pleased to have you with us. And Mr. Lyon Robinson, Head of Social Policy Development, the Commonwealth Secretariat. Welcome all to the stage. I pass the mic to you, Hani.
Thank you very much, Weam. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hani, and I'm from Palestine. I'm a champion for peace, and as champion for peace, I stand here today and tell you that I'm very sad, and my heart is really broken for what's going on in my country, Palestine. We count on world leaders to call for peace and to address the root causes and the decades of oppressions and apartheid, and not to support violence, and not to kill children, women, athletes. We have to immediately stop the violence and the suffering of thousands of civilians, especially the children and women in Gaza, who have been killed for the last 12 days. World leaders should call for peace and justice and accountability and the rule-based international order instead of supporting war crimes. We all call for peace. Justice will prevail and equality for all. Thank you. On this note, actually, we will continue from what we have started earlier about the sports legacy event and what mega events can do for societies and communities, especially with less than a year to go before the next Olympic Games in Paris. And in a country that puts sport at the core of its development strategy, it's important to highlight the major role of sporting events, especially on individuals, communities, but also on the economies of the host nations. This leads to start with our panel discussion, which is about major sporting events, which can have various positive impacts on individuals and as communities, as we mentioned, as nations. They can also serve as a catalyst for social inclusion, development, community pride, and engagement. So this session will present the experiences, lessons, and long-term effects of hosting major events and the ambitions and the challenges faced by event organizers. For this, I will start with Dr. Shaw. Welcome, Dr. Shaw. Happy to have you here with us. The World Taekwondo is among the leading international federations in terms of sports development. The medal tables from the last editions of the Olympic Games are clear proof of that, with the Olympics medalists coming from all continents. The work implemented by the World Taekwondo is not only focusing on performance, but also contributes to transform individuals and societies. So can you please tell us a bit more about this work, the results achieved, and the challenges you face?
Thank you.
3 questions in
Yes,
one question.
thank you for inviting me. And we mentioned that the World Taekwondo motto is peace is more precious than triumph. And especially this phrase is good for in our present world situation. And actually in 2016, we formed Taekwondo Humanitarian Foundation in Switzerland, Lausanne, and we support refugee children in many corners of the world, especially starting with the Azraq camp in Jordan, and mostly Syrian refugees, and we have a Turkey camp, and Eswatini in Africa, Rwanda, Nepal, and many countries. We are supporting, through our sports, not only teaching Taekwondo, we are teaching them how to live as a good global citizen.
Yeah.
And we support the Olympism, and especially the coming next Paris Olympic Games. We received the 13 IOC scholarship awardee, the Taekwondo refugee athletes, and I hope, and my dream is also one of them will pass through the qualification tournament, win a medal in Paris Olympic Games. And Taekwondo became a really international and universal sports. We have, at the moment, 213 member nations. I'm always saying that the plus one representing refugee athletes. And very internationalized, like you mentioned in Tokyo Olympic Games. 128 athletes participated, around 60 countries participating, and out of that, 224 countries receiving medals. And Tokyo Olympic was the first Olympic Games. Korea didn't get any gold medal. That means it's internationalized. So 20-some countries receiving medals, because we had also issues about refereeing and judging in our sports. But after we introduced protector and scoring system, that's an electronic protector sensor system, since 2012 London Olympic Games. We reduced human errors of refereeing and judging, and more accurate in scoring system. So Taekwondo became one of the most fair sports in Olympic family.
Yeah.
So since then, we really support
Yeah.
our sports in many countries, especially the African countries like Abala
Yeah.
is next to me. He's from Senegal, and many African countries is receiving the medals in
Yeah.
Taekwondo in Olympic Games and World Championships. I
So,
believe.
yeah, thank you very much for this contribution. Definitely, we go to Bala. You are an Olympian fellow champion for peace, African champion at Taekwondo, and active as well with Champion for Peace. So you are now also involved in sports administration. So to transfer from an athlete to administrator, this is also interesting, you can tell us about. You are also the heart of the organizing committee of the first Olympic event in the African continent, the Youth Olympic Games taking place in Dakar, Senegal 26. This event represents a catalyst for a sporting, social, cultural, educational, and economic transformation. What are the impacts you are already seeing since the Games were assigned to Dakar?
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to speak in French, and maybe I translate after in English. Just à l'entame de mes propos, je voulais vraiment remercier Peace and Sport d'inviter Dakar 2026 sur ce panel, très très intéressant depuis ce matin. Je profite de cette occasion aussi pour remercier le Comité national olympique saoudien, terre de paix. Saoudia, terre de paix. Cette couleur verte symbolise la paix. Aujourd'hui, je suis doublement très heureux de venir ici. I say, Mr. President, it's very difficult for me to speak today because I have my big present here. I'm coming from Taekwondo. Before I am athlete. After Rio, my career is finished. I go back to my country, Senegal. I impact many clubs, and I found great athlete, Marlène Arnois. She bring me in peace and sport. My life is changing. I am president of federation because many champion of peace of Taekwondo, Pascal Gentil, Daba Modibo Keita, help me, and I come back to be president of federation. And after many athletes are coming back inside the peace and sport, I'm running and I am president of federation. And after I go back to Secretary General from African Taekwondo Union. And now I'm coming back to Saudi. I am the director for the sport for the Youth Olympic Games. And I come back to Saudi. The first time, first time when I come to Peace and Sport, I meet the Prince Fahad. Today, I have a big occasion to say thank you for everything. This story is very important. Why I say this story? Because when I meet the prince, I ask one thing, to help me to see the Kaaba. And when I go back to my country, the prince are giving me the visa to come to see the Kaaba. And when I go to the Kaaba, I pray for my mom. I say, inshallah, I come to be very big in the sport. And I think when I go to the Kaaba and I pray, this now is reality now. I am the director for the sport for the Youth Olympic Games. The first time in Africa, 35 sport.
Yeah, amazing.
We have more sport for all Olympic Games, 35 sport in Dakar. The first time in Africa. It is not the Youth Olympic Game from Senegal. It is a Youth Olympic Game from Africa to inspire it for all the Africa.
The origin, yeah.
The impact now is changing in Senegal. When you go to Senegal and you go to the airport, you see why the Youth Olympic Game impact the life of Senegalese people. For the transportation, everything is changed. For the infrastructure, we have many new infrastructure. We host so many events in Senegal. For the education, we transmit many values in the school. And this is very important for us.
Yeah.
And this is very important also for the legacy, for the National Federation, to know the Youth Olympic Games, which impact we have it after this. And the International Federation. I'm so happy he's in my country, in Senegal, but this is a vision for the President of the Republic, Macky Sall, and also the President of the Olympic Committee, Mr. Mamadou Diagne Ndiaye. He have this vision for the Senegal Emergent. Today in the morning, I heard Saudi vision. Senegal have the same vision, why we are hosting from the Youth Olympic Games. But now, if you go to Senegal, the impact is now visible because we have the Olympic village. It is the legacy for the university to make education. The education is more important for the young athlete to prepare for the future. If you go to the infrastructure, I don't have this before to training in my country. I go to the French around the world to training. But now many young athletes training in Senegal because we have the infrastructure, we have a new educator, And this is also very important for the legacy. Just, I know the Youth Olympic Games is very important, but I want to thank the Olympic Committee. I want to thank all the international federation because it is a good moment from Africa. What he say, Mandela, it is time to Africa and time to Senegal also to show all the world in the world, Africa is possible to do it, and we all do it, inshallah.
Of course, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Bella. Actually, the transformation from being an athlete to where are you today, this is really also a positive impact. So to create role models that it can influence societies at large. So I would go to Mr. Robinson. You know, we are talking about major sporting events, and Bala mentioned the effect that has on society, specifically in Africa and beyond. I would like to discuss the key policies to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals while organizing the mega events, especially that the report that has been published from the Commonwealth reviewed at the conference in Baku and its objectives. So can you please tell us more specifically from policies perspective?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me for Peace and Sports again, and thank you for that wonderful question. I'm delighted to discuss how the preview of our policy brief on measuring the contribution of sport to development outcomes, the Global Sport and Sustainable Development Goals Impact Report. And this report you can go online and find, but what the report sets out to do, we launched it in MINEPS just this year in Baku, is to really connect sports and development outcomes, to draw that line between sports and climate change, sports and health, sports and education. Because if someone says to you, as we have been saying, sports can do so much, it's an enabler for so much, but then those of us in the statistical world will say, well, prove it. We will have a challenge to go and find the data, the actual data, the quantitative data that actually proves that. Many times we make references to the case studies, the qualitative, the impact we see with our eyes, we feel with our hearts. But the data and the evidence that backs that up, that is comparable across countries and regions, is not there. And so when we decided to work with UNESCO and other partners to do this report, the intent was to draw that nexus between sports, using indicators to show how it helps with development outcomes in the SDGs. The second thing I think we set out to do was to then also, once you can find the evidence, is to make the case for investments in sport. You know, those who are in the business world, in the private sector, in the development banks and so on, sometimes they are hard-pressed to put their funds in something that they cannot, guarantee some return on their investment, some would argue. And so the second thing that we set out to do was, if you can make the evidence clear and draw that line between sports and development outcomes, is to make the appeal to the development world and the private sector to invest more in sport. Not every country is as intentional as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in intentionally investing in sport because they see and they know the vision. For some others, you have to make the case using the evidence to do that. And so that intentionality of saying, here is the evidence that makes the case for investing in health, sport, education, economic growth, the report intends to begin the process of proving that for those who need that kind of evidence. And then the third, and maybe the third thing I will mention in the interest of time, is that it is to make a case. We decided to do this report to make a case for getting better data for sport. You can get data now for everything. If you want to do the physically get your heartbeat as you exercise, you have the apps to do all of that. But for the sector as a whole, the data is just not there in many countries across many regions, in small states, in developing countries. In Senegal, the data would not be there to prove why you should invest in sport. And so the third reason why we invested in doing this work is to make that case for better investments in data. Unless and until you get that data, some countries will continue to want to do the major events, but their country finance ministers will not support it because they do not have the evidence to prove. Yeah. So those are the three reasons. One, to make the line, the link between the nexus between sports and the SDGs explicitly clear. The second is to then make a case for investing in sport based on data and evidence. And the third, of course, is to make a case
Yeah.
for better investments in data. And so the report is available. I mean, it's not just a report. We also, the full report will be coming out later in a few months. But this policy brief sets out the basic arguments and begins to show how that is already happening with the data we have found. And we also have a dashboard that begins to now compare country to country, region to region, with the data we have found already.
Yeah.
And I hope that this baseline work will then be the work for future generations to keep investing in sport for development outcomes.
No, absolutely. I mean, data and research are very important factors to start with a base to ensure what is missing, what are the challenges, how can we address them, and how can we move forward, definitely. I go back to Dr. Shaw, actually. You mentioned refugees, right? So, and the opportunities that they get from access to sport, and specifically in your case, Taekwondo. So what is your vision on integrating refugees for such events and the impact of transforming perceptions and promoting their integration in the communities?
I just briefly mentioned about the Azra camp, and most of them, when we organized the first Hope and Dreams Taekwondo competition in Amman city,
In Amman.
Amman, and most of them, they were born in Azra camp. They never been out of camp since then. So we invite them, have a goodwill competition with other refugee athletes in Amman. They were so happy and they were so pleased. As I told you before, this is really great moment for supporting refugees
Yeah.
through Olympic sports to awaken for
Yeah.
peace. So that's why we had a very successful launching, and afterwards we had the experience work together with the wrestling, the World Wrestling, and yes, last year we had it in World Baseball and Softball Confederation, together with the Taekwondo, and introducing Baseball 5 to the refugee kids. And coming next year, third one will be the large.
Yeah.
So we are inviting judo, wrestling, and of course baseball and table tennis. So that's in order to get, it's like Thomas Farr mentioned this last Mumbai House session, sports is the key to open
The
the
door.
refugee athletes the eyes. So we are going to continuously supporting these refugee athletes through Olympic sports, not
Yeah.
only Olympic sports, but all the sports to support the
Yeah.
refugee kids. And another thing is we are also taking care of the orphans in orphanages in many corners of the world. So as I mentioned, that we have 213 member nations. We're supporting the orphans in orphanages together with our member national association. And last week, we had a successful goodwill competition in Kyrgyzstan
Yeah.
in different orphanage kids having
Yeah.
the competition together, and they were so happy. So these kind of things, I think, supporting the sports can
Integration.
contribute to our human society.
Yeah. And integrate them, obviously. We're talking about refugees. You were on Al Zarqa camp. I was in a refugee camp, in Al Zaatari camp, actually, when we hosted the FIFA Women's World Cup under 17. And of course, we try to give them opportunities through football. Of course, the Olympic sports are very important, but football is also an important tool to bring those kids, girls together in an open prison in the desert somewhere. And of course, football or Olympic sports didn't manage to change their life and then bring them back to Syria, unfortunately. But at least it gave them a glimpse of hope to dream of a better future, a glimpse of opportunity that they can make it, and they should know that this is not their situation, and one day they will get out of this prison, and through football, through sports, through Taekwondo, they can manage to make their dreams come true and one day come back to their country. So this is a platform to give them hope, and an opportunity. And that's, I guess we agree with all of that, that we are sports leaders, sports organizers. Most importantly, what people is seeking actually is opportunity. And that's what Bella can refer on that by you wanted that opportunity when you wanted to play. You mentioned Marlene, she gave you that opportunity to come to Peace and Sport. And I mentioned Joël Bezou, with all the respect that he gave me to become a champion for peace. So we needed one person to open the door for us and to give us the opportunity to excel. Because a lot of people have a lot of talents, skills, but they miss that opportunity. So Bella, can you contribute on this and tell us how do you transform the knowledge that you gained and the experiences from being an athlete to influencing Senegal and beyond? This is power.
This is power, but in Sénégal, actuellement, comme je disais tout à l'heure, nous avons une activité qu'on appelle le brevet sport civique scolaire. C'est un brevet adopté dans les écoles pour transmettre les valeurs de l'olympisme. This is some special activity we are doing in the school to teach the young people for the value from the sport. And this is very important. And this year also we have one activity, the name is Dakar en Jeu. This is Dakar en Jeu because in the Youth Olympic Games in 2026, it's the same date, the 31 October to 30 November, this is the same date we have the Youth Olympic Games. And all the years we have this opportunity to make one festival, and the young athlete, the National Federation, make a sport initiation, and also the culture come to participate from this activity to show all the Senegalese people the same date we have the Youth Olympic Games in 2026. And next year we invite some country to participate also from this activity. This is some opportunity we have it in Senegal. And also for the job, because many people, many young people don't have job. But in the Youth Olympic Game, it's possible to have the job because we have so many description job we are doing for the Youth Olympic Game. You have the sport presentation. Now we have new academy from the sport presentation. We don't have it, this is before, but now we have some activity, the sport presentation, and also we have for the stadium, some people are coming from engineer, for the light, for the screen, for everything. We have many opportunity to give the young people to come back, and also from the digital, for the communication. This is some opportunity we're having from the Youth Olympic Games.
Of course, that's great, thanks. Talking about athletes and role models, Mr. Robinson, you have this initiative, the Athlete Impact Labs. It's contributing to inspire the athletes to build a better future through sports. And how does this also reflect on governments and their policies? I go always back to you with government and policies to encourage that.
That's quite okay. So I tend to work a lot with governments. The Commonwealth work a lot with governments in terms of helping them to do the policy work that will help the sports sector become really grounded and so on. So yes, so definitely in the Commonwealth Youth Games just held in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean in August. And one of the things we did was to work with young people, work with UNICEF, work with the government of Trinidad to bring to the athletes what we call the Athlete Impact Labs. And those were just an exciting way to meet with the athletes who are there from 68 different parts of the Commonwealth and to begin to engage them on the important topics of rights, injustice, poverty as athletes. And what was really interesting was to begin to see how these young athletes from different parts of the world, from young people in the Caribbean mixing with young people from Samoa and Tuvalu in the Pacific, exchanging together their common feelings about the world that they live in. And to realize that they were facing some of the similar challenges and then working with them to make a resolution in their hearts to do something about it. And so the Impact Labs was a fun way for them as athletes to almost relax during their training times and discuss together these kinds of issues that we want them to really share together on how to change the world for the better. Many of them will go on to be great athletes. That's what the youth games tend to do. But some of them will not. But what they would have found was a bond between them across nations and regions of a common interest in making the world a better place. And so that's a philosophy we have about capacity building, which not just goes to young people, it also resonates with our governments and our leaders, of bringing governments together to say, listen, In the area of sport, there are common challenges that we face. Every country has similar experiences, but the capacity to deal with them is lacking. And so multinational organizations like the Commonwealth works to help them to do that, and we do it in interesting ways. For those who are in the room, you might want to go to sportanddev.org, the clearinghouse for all sport policy information.
Yeah.
Sportanddev.org celebrates 20 years this year. It's a fantastic resource. In that resource, and we've just launched a French version, we have it in Arabic as well, we have a MOOC, a massive online course that helps build the capacity of our governments and stakeholders and students and young people coming up on how sports can make a difference through policy. And then we have those training programs we do on and on, those workshops with governments. I guess the point I'm making is if we want the world to change, we will do the advocacy. We're doing it on the platform. Those of us in the policy space need to do the data work to create tools and reports, a national sport index, which we've done with Namibia. But you also need to build the capacity of the people in the space, from the young people to the governments. And that's where multinationals like the Commonwealth come in to help. But also we rely on the richness and diversity we get from the athletes to change how the world is seen, how we can make this world a better place. So I'm really glad for the opportunity of inviting multinationals like the Commonwealth to share on this platform. And I hope that if others are interested, we are quite happy to share the vast amount of work we have built up over many years, working with young people and with our government partners.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Actually, after we have seen the great examples of Senegal, Dakar organizing the 2026 games, and we have also listened to the FIFA World Cup impact in Qatar, and we have also listened to the South Korea example. We believe that the power of sports is beyond any obstacles. It's the power, it's the tool that we can use to for inclusion, for empowerment, for equality, for justice. Hosting mega events in countries change nations at all levels, whether it's economic, it's social, it's climate, it's sustainable, and the legacy that leaves behind is very powerful. So with this note, I would like to thank you very much for being with us today. And I hope that you continue your work wherever you are and whoever you speak to, and give chance to those disadvantaged groups, to women, to children, give them an opportunity to believe that there is a better future, and a better future can happen through sports, because we come from sports, and through sports we can make the impossible possible. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thanks a
Honey.
lot.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks a
Shaw,
lot.
Mr. Day, and
you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Robinson. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great
this
panel.
great
Again,
session.
a warm
Thank you.
applause for our panelists.